In 2010, when all this began, we were there. We couldn't find a kart championship, a rental kart championship to compete in, could we? And you came up with the idea of the British Championship. But going into 2011 for the first season, it was a much different event, wasn't it? Can you talk us through the instigation of it?
Yeah, I remember we had quite a few conversations about this, and Alex Van Gien as well, I think, was in on it near the start. And you and I basically, like you said, wanted to find something we could race in that was affordable,
yeah,
but was similar to the World Championship, which we'd both tasted. And there really wasn't anything. There wasn't anything that kind of came close in the UK. Rental karting and definitely indoor karting wasn't really taken very seriously. There were some in-house championships by some of the major indoor kart companies, but there was nothing that was quite the level we were looking for. And even BRKC didn't really start off at the level we were looking for. It's taken several years to gradually move the championship more towards the World Championships format, the World Championships quality of drivers and kind of organisation. So it's changed a lot over the years.
Absolutely, this is very true, because the standard and type of driver we've got now competing at the top. I mean, take Ruben Boutens. He's been the British champion for the last 3 years, going for fourth this weekend. He's a golden example of one of these European drivers who competes not in really the two-stroke karting, has no interest in making it to Formula One. Rental karting, and especially the indoor variety, is absolutely his thing. We've got Matthias Groten, who's double world champion for the indoor karting. He's here this weekend again. And we've seen some homegrown British talents as well. Although still, I think the Europeans, they still take their indoor a little bit more seriously, but this really is growing the indoor scene in the UK, I think.
Yeah, I tend to think that even the guys, even the top Brits, don't spend most of their year practicing indoor karting. They maybe do a few, maybe some small competitions. And a couple of them, Sean Brierley is a good example, have been out to Europe and done some of the European races. Some of the other guys have been to Poland as well, but they tend to be these one-off competitions occasionally in the year, whereas I think our European rivals who travel over here, this is just a run-of-the-mill, another event, another weekend, and they'll be doing something very similar in a couple of weeks' time, and they tend to be doing regular championships on similar kind of track all the time. So they do tend to edge us in the seriousness of indoor karting.
Absolutely, they do take it very, very seriously indeed. We've got now, of course, we're running purely indoor, and it's one weekend, just in line with the European ones. When we first started, there were outdoor tracks, and it was very much a typical British scene.
Yeah.
Now it's got a bit more of a European flavour in the style of the event. The outdoor tracks, of course, for 2011, 2012, 2013 were a feature. The indoor tracks started to creep in a little bit more and more. Some of the best races were in the indoor. The outdoor was great. Disparity amongst karts could be a bit greater on outdoor.
Yeah.
Here at Formula Fast, they've got the karts really, really close together. I think we're seeing a very truer event and a truer champion at the end of it, because nobody's complaining about kart differential, are they?
Yeah, there was a time actually after maybe 2 years of running BRKC that I think you and I had a conversation where we said, wouldn't it be great to have an indoor British championship? And I kind of regretted for a moment having started BRKC in the way we did, because I thought, now we've gone down this road, it's outdoors, it's going to be quite hard to move it around to this KWC style event. But you're right, the indoor track started creeping in. I think the first one was probably Daytona, Manchester.
Yes, that's right. We started in the
2013 or 2012.
2012 that one was, and the 2013 started at the one in London, didn't it?
Yeah, so we had a couple of indoor tracks, but
Yeah.
it was certainly the majority were outdoor. Obviously, travelling around the country is almost impossible to have a real handle on. You know, if you just turn up at a kart track for one day, you can't really influence how they're preparing the karts. You know, you certainly can't have them build a laser pit stop system for you and invest all that kind of thing. Whereas the guys here at Formula Fast, knowing that we're here every year, they've got the whole year to prepare. It's not just a one-day thing. You know, it's a full weekend thing where there's also drivers coming to practice during the year. You know, maybe travelling from quite a way. I know quite a few of the guys have come here lots of times to do practices, and they don't necessarily live nearby. And that's the kind of thing.
Even some of the Europeans, actually, there've been some of those come over and purely to practice for this event, and then go back home again, and then come back here for the actual championships themselves.
And this is the beauty of being at a single location and having a big championship over one weekend.
Yeah. So now we've got purely indoor based. We're seeing it's a lot more relevant in the indoor world of karting. So much so, Karting Magazine, British Rental Kart Championship, #2 in their list of rental kart events. Second only to Club 100, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And let's be fair, competing with an established two-stroke outdoor all year long championship, that's a separate league, isn't it?
This is a separate
event. This is
in Club 100. I think we were a little bit late to the party with that voting.
Yeah.
I think had we noticed that earlier, we'd have had a better chance of getting an audience. But maybe this year. But we kind of realised that was a competition that the rental kart voting was going on, and we joined quite late. But yeah, second place is good. But I think we're very distinct. I don't see us as competing with Club 100. We've got lots of Club 100 drivers here. It's a cold, icy weekend in January. It's a totally different format, totally different prize structure. Everything's very different. And although we've got some crossover in terms of drivers, I actually much prefer the fact that we are this standalone event and we're not treading on the toes of other series. We complement them rather than competing.
It's the greatest indoor event in the UK. There's no question, hands down. Formula Fast, nobody competes with Formula Fast. Phil Stanley, Ollie Demetrius Fox, they put in such a great amount of effort, a great performance. There's karts testing now to make sure.
You can hear the karts still testing.
There's one outside the window, and it's not its first lap, this kart either, is it? Whenever there's a problem, they're looking for that kart parity. They obviously have taken it under their wing as well. I'm assuming they're going to be here for some years to come.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any kind of contract, but I think the contract we have is the fact that the guys here put so much effort in.
Yeah.
And I just can't see anywhere else having the ability or the will to do the kind of investment that these guys have done.
Yeah.
And they know it. They've taken ownership of the championship in terms of like responsibility and caring about it. And so, yeah, I don't think we're going anywhere. I think we're going to probably work on improving it here as much as we can. There's some things in the pipeline over the next couple of years, so things I'm looking forward to.
And it's a championship that offers quite a bit actually, because if we just have a look at the trophies here, this is the first place trophy, which you could practically climb inside. Top 3 trophies, obviously first, second and third, but the additional prizes, top 3 go to the World Championships, get free entry for the World Championships. The first place, £1,000. I mean, £1,000 for first place. The entry fee, if you deduct that from the entry fee, that's probably the most profitable racing you can do in the whole of the UK, including car racing. When you think about it, all right, you might make a bit more money if you win a touring car race, but the cost of actually winning that race, it won't allow for that kind of
it's not
profit margin.
£165, is it?
It certainly isn't. We've also got a couple of other trophies. The Cam Ho Trophy. Cam Ho, of course, friend of ours. I remember Cam Ho and I. We were at the 2011 World Championships, and we were kind of hanging our heads. We were roommates. We were hanging our heads the night before the final heat race, working out how we could get into the final. And just
I remember we
too difficult.
hired a minibus, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Together, Cam sat in the back.
Absolutely.
So it's nice that we've still got Cam with us.
And that's for any driver over 40, isn't it?
It is,
yeah.
and we've got several. We've got some really fast guys over 40 as well, so this is going to be hard fought.
Ballistic, aren't they? Some who will legitimately be in the final in their own right.
Yeah.
We have the Genevieve Reason Trophy, who Genevieve actually friend of both of ours for quite a few years before she was even working here at Formula Fast. Tragically died in a road accident in 2015. But we're awarding the Genevieve. Well, talk us through the Genevieve.
Well, it's
Reason
really
Trophy.
up to you. This is your choice. It's the commentator's choice award. So it's whoever has given you reason to talk about them. Whoever's made a really exciting move, or it's really very flexible. If you see something out there on track this weekend that gives you pause for thought and makes you think, oh, that was a real defining moment, that was exciting, that's your choice to...
Absolutely. Genevieve Reason, she would have been a bit full on in this event had she been competing. So somebody who really gives us reason to talk for no other reason than their effort. That's what the Genevieve Reason.
We have one more prize, which I'd like to announce now that no one else knows about. We've got a couple of... Well, actually, one of the organisers of the Belgian Indoor Kart Championship racing with us this weekend, and they've very kindly given us a prize of a free place in the Belgian Indoor Kart Championship for this year. So the top British driver who finishes, wherever they finish in BRKC this year, is going to be going over to Belgium to have a potentially even tougher time of it, and try and beat some of those guys again out there.
So should there be a British winner this year, he could be walking out with £1,000, entry the World Championship and entry the British Championship. And that brings me in nicely. We've got a couple of drivers here that we'd like to talk to. First of all, if I can bring in Will Buxton. Will, come on in, Will, and join us here. Just take a seat. Will, obviously we know you're a Formula One commentator on American television, and you're here competing in the BRKC. Please explain the attraction to you.
And warming up, it's -2.5 degrees.
Luckily we're warm in here in the commentary booth, so we believe in warmth in here.
Down on track it's going to be very, very cold.
Isn't it?
Why am I here? Well, I met Brad at a karting event 3 years ago? 4 years ago, something like that. And he said, you must come and do BRKC one year. So I did it first 2 years ago, loved it, came back last year. And didn't think I could make it this year, but somebody pulled out and Brad said, come on, you've got to put your name down. So I did, and I'm here. And I love it. I'm terrible, I'm rusty, as my time in practice yesterday showed. But it's great fun, you know, there's so much karting for the cost. I can't think of another occasion, another track, another experience that I've ever seen where you get so much track time for so relatively little money. And the level of competition is so high as well. It's a really incredible opportunity to test yourself.
Yeah, because what surprises a lot of casual viewers to indoor karting generally, and especially in Britain where it's not taken as seriously as maybe in Europe, is the fact that the marshals have so little work to do.
Yeah.
It's very rare to see a crash. All weekend we might get 5 if we're lucky, or if we're unlucky, shall we say. So the standard is absolutely fantastic. And just on this note, Will, I'd like to bring in Lewis Manley, who potentially is the biggest British hope for this year. Lewis, if you care to come in and take a seat, please, sir. Lewis, we're probably looking at you to take the championship for Britain maybe this year, which is quite something, considering a couple of years ago you were an unknown. Formula Fast took over the championship, and now you're one of the established stars. How do you feel about your chances of winning this event, £1,000 and a Kart World Championship entry this year?
Well, hopefully I can do it this year because I've got good confidence after last year, because I was doing really well, especially in my heats, and the final went great too, because coming in second was no mean feat. And obviously I've just got to go one better this year and try and win the £1,000 cash and try and be the first Brit here since Lee Hackett won his BRKC, and try and win at Formula Fast on my local track.
Superb. Obviously, guys, if I can come back to you, and we'll talk a little bit about Lewis as the sort of British hope. Yeah. Really, we've seen Ruben Boutins, obviously Dutch driver, vastly experienced in the indoor world, competes regularly at the World Championship, never manages to win it, interestingly, but he can win the Dutch Championship, all the national championships. He's an absolute killer at. From a British point of view, Lewis is the best hope. Will, we were commentating last year on a great race that Lewis won, probably the best single race there's been in the BRKC. Yeah, how do we feel about Lewis's chances, particularly up against some of these tough Europeans?
I think Lewis has demonstrated time and again that he is probably the fastest Brit around here. Maybe in the past Ed White has been the guy who could take it to Lewis in terms of British drivers, but Ed's not even here this weekend, so I don't know, he had a reason he couldn't enter, so Ed has been replaced. So I think it does fall to Lewis probably. There have been a few other Brits in the final over the years, not generally up the front though, like Lewis. So Lewis is the only person who's been on the podium. He's relentlessly fast. It's the one lap qualifying as well. He does the job every time. So I think he's probably the best hope.
And Will, going back to that race we saw last year, we were both commentating on it. Lewis won it, and there were what, 3 of us up there, all on the same mic. Each one of us having something relevant to say, but I mean different, and yet it was Lewis that came through and won.
Yeah, and the astonishing thing was that at one point we'd written him off. We'd absolutely written him off for the race, and he's nodding because he remembers that only too well. But what was astonishing about that, and what I think marks him out as a real challenger for the crown once again this year, is not just the fact that he's fast, but the fact that he's very unflappable, and that he sticks to his race. He knows what he's doing, and he stays calm, and he gets that job done. And we'd all said, oh, he's got no chance of winning it now. But he knew what he was doing, he knew his game plan, and he stuck to it. And so long as he maintains his confidence in himself, because we all know he's quick, he knows he's quick, so long as he maintains his confidence in himself, stays to his plan, doesn't panic about it, he's got a great chance.
Absolutely, because we were, in that particular race, we were looking more at how Ryan Smith was going to come back from an early pit stop, where he would cycle in, and Lewis needed to get the distance when he was out on his own, if I remember correctly, so that his pit stop was not going to be affected. And it so happens that he managed to come out in the lead and take the win. We also questioned strategies on both ends, Ryan's and Lewis's, both forced, arguably from our perspective, forced into their strategy. However, they were doing their own strategy. For themselves. They weren't thinking about what the other was doing. We were doing that bit of thinking for them. That's key in the indoor championships. Strategy is very, very important. We've got pit stops taking effect. Brad, briefly explain the pit stops for us, and then we'll get
so I know
Lewis to take and Will's.
I know we don't have a lot of time remaining, so I'm going to try and keep this brief. So just to clarify, actually, obviously everybody has to do a pit stop in each race, and if it's in the final, it's 2 pit stops. In that pit stop, you have to turn both of the lights green. The reason we have the light system, the laser pit stop system, is to essentially enforce a pit lane speed limit, because there's only so fast you can go from a standstill to a standstill, or nearly a standstill. As long as both of the lights have gone green in a single pit stop, that counts as a good pit stop. That you've made it. That's it.
Yeah.
If you turn one of the lights yellow, you need to make another pit stop, and if you happen to turn both of them yellow, if you make that big a mistake, your race is ruined really. You're going to have to make 2 extra pit stops. And the reason that's such a harsh penalty is because you really do have to enforce the pit lane speed limit somehow. If it was a case where if you get one of them wrong, you can just sail through the second one flat out. You can have a marshal not expecting you to go straight through, steps in front of the car, you're going to have some injuries in the pit. So you do have to have a harsh penalty for people not setting both lights green. But that's it really. You have to make that count, and you can use that to your advantage. You can choose to pit out of traffic, you can choose to defend if someone else has pitted before you, and that's really one of the unique things about BRKC. I don't know of any other championships in the UK at all where you have this pit stop system, and certainly none where you have a laser pit stop system.
Superb. Well, we're at the end of the show now, folks. In a single sentence, Lewis, how do you feel about this weekend?
Feel alright actually. I'm confident I can do it. Go one better than last year. But as Brad was saying about pit stops, it can be massive pressure, because if you make one mistake, as he just said, and that's your penalty, so that can compromise your race, and that will put massive more pressure on yourself to get back to the front, and that's why you got to make it clean and try not make any mistakes.
absolutely compromising not only the race, but potentially the whole race weekend and the championship for that driver. We thank you very much for watching. Please stay with us all weekend with the live stream. We'll be bringing all the action right to you here from Formula Fast in Milton Keynes. Thank you.